At least you know. Yeah, at least I know, right? Oh my God.
I know it does take it. It'll take you some time to slowly fight the urge to not do it.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stop for you. I promise. So I just actually wanted to ask you too. Mm-hmm. There's things like Gonstead. There's like the diversified technique. There's all these different types of techniques. Mm-hmm. Which one do you think is the best, or do you think it's the best to mix different types of chiropractic care?
That's a really good question. So the one that I use more is diversified and activator. So I can't really say which one's the best because I don't know about how everyone is exactly, right?
Good answer.
Yeah, well, I like to...
You should be a politician.
Well, what I feel is that what should be the end goal is if you're improving. So, for some people, maybe Gonstead is the way to go. That's what they like. They've gotten great results. Great. Stick with that. Stick with someone who does it. If diversified is what you like, stick with that. And that's what you've gotten the results. If activator is one, I always say that to people, whoever it is, just stick with wherever you're getting really good results because everyone's different. Everyone has a different preference. So that's the thing. Like there are so many different techniques out there and I can't really say if one's worse than the other because I don't know all of them. Yeah. So it's not fair for me to even make that kind of assumption.
That is true. Do you ever like Y-strap adjust or Y-axis distraction or ring dinger?
No, never done those.
No. Okay.
I've never done it. I know you were just mentioning that too. I was like, I've never done it before.
Okay, well, maybe one day.
Because I feel like, isn't that just cervical traction?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think so. So it's just, but apparently you feel it all the way down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've seen it before, but you're basically laying down, your legs are elevated. He like locks your hips into place and then puts a towel around your neck and then just like pulls on the Y-axis, I guess.
Okay.
Explain to me and the lay person listening, I'm also a lay person, what Gratson is and what fascia is, like how it improves blood flow. Just educate me on Gratson.
Okay. So Graston is actually, you use stainless steel tools to actually break down any of the fascia. So you know how sometimes you might get those, when you're feeling a muscle, if it doesn't feel smooth and you feel those little crunchies. I call them crunchies because when you press on them, they feel a little crunchy. Or you might feel like it's just too tight. Sometimes it'll get so tight that it feels like you've got like rocks in here. So what Graston does is that you're actually kind of scraping down. It's not very sharp tools. And every time I pull them out, people think they're gonna bleed. They're not gonna bleed. So what you're doing is just kind of going through the fascia, trying to just smooth it all out. And in the process, you're bringing more blood flow into the area. So that way it heals whatever is going on in there. And so it does leave bruising, but it feels so much better. It's so great for ligaments. It's so great for muscles. I've had it done on myself so many times, and I do it a lot on people, especially for their traps. Like traps are so tight, extremely tight, or even just right in here in your forearms. Oh, yeah. Especially if certain professions like plumbers and painters, anyone, or even car mechanics, all of them will have such tight forearms. And so when I do Graston on there, they're like, oh my God, it feels really good. It hurts for like 1 or 2 days. But what you're trying to do is trying to make that muscle nice and smooth so that way you're actually getting better range of motion compared to if it was still locked in that position.
Yeah, and that's a huge part too. If you have very tight forearms, you might have an elbow pain or something along those lines, and it just goes to show how connected our whole body is. Is it almost similar to like rolling? And
it is, but it's a lot more pressure, and you're very specific on the strokes. So different strokes mean different things as well. So that's why certain tools are used, and like there's a set of 6 of them. And so you kind of know exactly which one to use for which body part. And I mean, all the muscle fibers run differently. Some of them run like this way. Some of them run up. Like you got to know the anatomy before you do it.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, because I do this thing called Mobility WOD. It's this physiotherapist guy, and he just has all these different ways to break up the fascia. When you break up the fascia, the tissue moves better and you feel better. But I really am gonna try the Gratson with you. I can't wait. I was looking like last year. I was looking for everybody. I guess before you. Well, no. I guess you've been practicing for a year.
Yeah. Well, 1.5 years almost. Yeah.
Almost 2.
Yeah, almost 2. Yeah.
Getting up there.
Yeah, and so same thing with Graston. So when people have questions about it, I did post it on my blog because a lot of people didn't know anything about it. But I also would recommend, if you're really curious, Google it, just like you Google everything else. just Google that. And the Graston website has some really great articles, videos, everything that's there to show you how it helps. Athletes love it. I know a lot of athletes love it. Same with dancers, like professional dancers. And yeah, I love it. I'm not an athlete, but
that's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're kind of your own type of athlete.
Yeah, I guess so.
Cracking bones and.
Yeah. Well, like, well, I don't crack them. I adjust them.
Oh, sorry.
So,
sorry.
So, with like for chiropractors, a lot of us get very tight forearms. So I will do it on here at least every 2 weeks, just to make sure my arms are nice and loose too.
Okay, yeah, because I box, and I'm definitely going to see you for my knee,
Yeah.
because I've been having trouble with like my hamstring tendons apparently, but yeah, definitely would like for you to look at that eventually.
Do you stretch?
I stretch a lot. Like I'm very particular on preventative stuff, so I always do rotator cuffs. I always warm up, stretch as much as I can. I think I was just overexerting it, and it just now it flares up if I push it a little too hard, which is really annoying, because if I'm on a jog and then out of nowhere it just starts getting sore, I have to walk. It's so annoying. But
And there's also like other things too for athletes, like certain things that you're putting in your body, you want to make sure you're actually replenishing your muscles too, right? So I know sometimes people will drink a lot of protein shakes. A lot of them, I don't know what's exactly in a lot of them, but there's different types from my understanding. And I always tell people, like, read the bottle, because it'll tell you when you should be taking a break from it. And they're like, you don't need to take a break. I'm like, no, it says on the bottle you need to take a break at a certain time.
It's true. People don't even understand all the shit they're putting in their body. Like,
right.
When I see people drink Monsters or chugging pre-workout.
Right.
Crazy story. I was taking pre-workout and I had a heart palpitation at the gym. And then I literally had to take 6 months off because I had to wait for an MRI, because some doctors thought that I had a genetic heart condition, and if I had that condition I couldn't work out or play sports anymore. So I was literally just waiting for months, getting out of shape and being depressed and anxious, just waiting. And it's all because of pre-workout. So people need to realize that
whatever you put in your body is how you're going to feel.
Exactly. So yeah, any other health tips for people listening?
Yeah, you know what, I think definitely stretching. I feel so many people do not stretch. So when I give, my patients like to call it is their homework. So when I give them stretches to do, they only do it. This bothers me so much, and they know it bothers me. They will only do it until they start to feel better. And I always say to them, okay, that's great, but why did you stop? They're like, I was feeling better. I'm like, really? Because I don't remember putting a deadline on the stretches that I gave you. And they're just like, oh my God, I knew you were going to say that. And so, I mean, even if you think it's not a huge workout, like shoveling is a workout. You really do need to stretch. You really need to watch your body mechanics when you're doing it. Lifting with your knees. Don't just lift at the waist. And also making sure you're drinking lots of water. Water is something people barely drink anymore. And eating right. Make sure you're sleeping well. And mental health is another big thing that I think if you are so stressed out, you're not going to feel better, because you're going to be so tight all the time. And when you're super tight, you're also going to be breathing from your chest as opposed to your diaphragm. And so, just like you were mentioning, like anxiety, all of that. So I always, if someone comes in and they are super, super anxious, I always ask them, do you talk to a counselor? Do you talk to anybody? Patients who've gone through really like just grief, right? And so even grief plays a huge role. And so I honestly think the body, mind, spirit are all connected. So if one of them's out of whack, it's going to show up in the other two spots too. And so when I will address that. Like I think a lot of healthcare professionals are addressing it now, because if there are resources out there for mental health, and if you're not in that headspace, your thoughts aren't going to help with how you're feeling. So if you're constantly saying, oh my God, I feel like crap, this is not going to work, it's not going to work. Well, the universe is not going to, you know how it is, right? You attract what you don't want.
And you got to speak it into existence. And,
right.
And placebo, even, like, I'm not saying, like, chiropractic's a placebo. I believe in chiropractic wholeheartedly. But the thing is, just people believing that something's going to work is going to benefit them. The mind and the body and the soul, all connected.
Right.
Just like all your tissues. Just like how your elbow is going to be sore if your forearm's tight. Right. Everything's connected. So.
Right. So if your neck is so sore, chances are you're going to start getting headaches, when you get headaches, you're not going to be sleeping well depending on how often they're coming. You're
Yeah,
not sleeping well, then you're crabby. When you're crabby, what happens? You're always so mad, right? When you're mad, you're so tense. So it's like, it's just a continuous cycle. And I mean, even food too. Watch what you're eating. Try to get some really good veggies in. I know a lot of patients will joke around, especially the dads that I was talking about earlier. They will joke and say, well, I had one leaf of spinach. Is that enough? I'm like, no, no, it's not. And like we were going back to that part where, you know, some of them are a little nervous or just skeptical, right? I feel like those are my favorite ones, because once they start working with a chiropractor, not just me, but just with anyone, they start to feel so much better that they're like, why did I not believe this before? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. But, you know, you always do have to find the right person for you in any health profession that you're looking at. Not everyone jives with everyone. So those dads that I was talking about earlier, when they came in, I think about 2 weeks later, they're like, hey, watch this. I'm like, what? And I mean, we've had a few treatments in between then, right? So they're like, okay, watch this. So they show me the things that they couldn't do before. And they're so proud of themselves. Like, they're just like, I can touch my toes now. I'm so excited. I haven't done this in so long. I was showing it to everyone. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. It's actually super nice to hear. I'm like, you know, but you could have also done that 30 years ago.
I know, if you just addressed the problem when it first came.
Right, when it first came. And I'm like, so it wouldn't be such a shock right now. And they're like, I guess.
I guess, whatever.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, you're right. I'm like, okay. And then they end up just, you know, they tell everybody and they get so excited about it. And I'm like, that's what we need. It's just people more excited about feeling better and wanting to stay better.
People are starting to realize, wow, like I can live a lot longer and healthier and more functional for a longer period of time, not just 35 or 40. My back's sore and just that's it.
Right.
You know, like you can change it.
Well, like I am obsessed with chicken nuggets, but I eat them in moderation because I know they're not great for me. And so I know there's people who love pizza. They eat it for breakfast, lunch, dinner all the time. And when I'm like, well, you know, I also really love chicken nuggets, but, you know, it's once a week type of thing for me and it's not all day. And they're like, well, isn't it hard? I'm like, well, yeah, but
I'm not easy.
I'm not denying myself of it. You know, I'm still eating healthy. So my reward are chicken nuggets.
And that's good. It keeps you focused throughout the week. And you're like, hey, I can't wait for those chicken nuggets on the weekend.
Right.
Yeah. Oh. So I guess just let everybody know about your future endeavors with respect to social media.
Well, with social media, okay. So my plan is, I got a blog and I made this blog about almost a year ago. We were just saying that.